You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!
Good evening, everybody. Welcome. It's the last week of October. Last week of October, and when you're getting in the mood, the last week of October is the only one that matters. So it's so great to have you back. Though if you've been on the bandwagon for the entire week, I mean, you haven't lost me for a second. Because we had our show on Friday night, The Playhouse, another great episode with me and Anthony hosting a great guest. And then on Saturday night, we had the Saturday night special, which will be rebroadcast on Friday night, on Halloween night around 8 p.m. I'm going to go live at 7 p.m. On location for my father's Halloween party, just for a little bit, just to hang out with you guys and maybe announce that incredible Keto Brainz winner. And I think I should be able to take some calls. I don't know how in-depth the whole thing's going to be, but I just wanted to give you guys some sights and sounds, do some on the scene interviews, and have a blast. So that's going to be that was on Saturday. And then, of course, if you are a monthly sponsor, then we had our Sunday morning get together, our private stream on Sunday morning, which was really, really nice. It always is. It's a grounding stream for me. And I really love those Sunday streams. I really do. And thank you guys and gals for showing up for them. Okay. Well, tonight we've got a fantastic guest who has not been on for about a year and a half. I don't know when the last time we spoke to him was, but it was a very important booking for me. Lubomir Arsov. Okay. And Lubomir is a filmmaker. He's an animator, renowned for directing the acclaimed short animated films In Shadow, A Modern Odyssey. That was 2017. All of this is in the Interesting Shite playlist. We've talked about it before. And then we brought him on to talk in particular about the follow-up release that was Kingdom. That was in 2024. I think it was early last year, 2024 he came on. And both films explore the themes of psychological, parapolitical, and spiritual transition that we are experiencing in society, both the peaks and the valleys. And I don't know what you would describe what we're in right now, but it's a bitch. It's a bitch. And you know, I think what accentuates it a little bit more is something that I have discussed with you many times, that even the understanding of what the internet is so different from what it was when we were introduced to it, that it was wide open. There was websites, there was, image and message boards there, but everybody wasn't corralled onto little applications. The internet wasn't my Facebook account. The internet wasn't Instagram or and really you can go from app to app, and the mindset is totally different from app to app. Like, I go to Instagram to know that I'm going to have a laugh. There might be some stuff that just make me shake my head, whatever. Okay, you see somebody dying randomly. But for the most part, I go on Instagram and I know I'm going to have myself a laugh. YouTube Shorts is essentially the places you go to when you want to have somebody do like an arts and crafts breakdown or a science experiment. Twitter is where you go to lose your mind. No matter what it is, it's the worst of everyone, of everything. And then, of course, then there is just your back porch. You go outside and you hear the birds chirping. You hear the house sparrows in the background, and you realize, damn, you keep getting pulled between all these different realities. Many of them are projections and algorithmic hellholes and whatever. And that's really when we get into the psychological, the parapolitical, and the spiritual tensions and where we are as a society. But in between those very well-known videos that have amassed millions of views for Lubomir, and you guys know all about them as well, was The Forest King. And this was a very dark, cautionary tale. It is a modern interpretation of the elf king. I believe it's Scandinavian, and I know about this story. And I had to go back and get it, and then I started realizing, this is what it was based on, and it's really it's a creepy old Scandinavian Germanic tale about a father and a son. The son being harassed by a malevolent spirit in the woods and is not able to get the father's attention and saying, something's coming for me. And the father is just kind of dismissive about it. It's the rustling leaves. It's this and that. And then, of course, it doesn't have a happy ending. And by the time the father realizes that the danger is real and something has been trained onto his son, he loses him forever. And this is a little bit more of a modern thing that we're looking at right now. Here is the 1 minute long trailer. After the show tonight, we are going to do a live watch party on the flip side. On the other side of the end credits, we're going to do a live watch party. I got permission. So we're going to be able to watch this. It's 18 minutes long. It's just about as the perfect amount of time as the extra time that we spend together on the flip side actually is. So it's perfect. But here we go. This is your trailer for The Forest King. Take a look at this.
Dad, why don't we just get more credits like the others?
It's not about earning points, son. It's about remembering what's already in here and growing that.
Think of the boy, Popov. Not everything's about...
We're not for sale.
They all begin as player one, but most get reprogrammed into an NPC. It's when the user loses individual sentience and starts operating under the game's algorithm instead, and...
Obey the rules of this fair game and find yourself with wealth and fame. If you're afraid, then you may flee, but to make gain just... bend the knee.
Now, it's a 19-minute long episode. For those of you who can, please just stick with us until after the end credits. We'll watch it together. If you're listening to this after the fact, I put the link in the description of the episode to what is now a much more wider release. And like everything else that's inside of Lubomir's work, it is just jam-packed full of things, occult kind of messages and warnings. But also, what I love the most, and we have to talk about that, is the whole idea of redemption arcs. And we're all in one of those phases right now where, man, there's so much to look around right now and grimace. And you have to wonder when our redemption arc is going to start to come into focus. And that's what I wanted to discuss right now for a second time on this show. Lubomir Arsov, I can't wait to speak. Welcome back, sir. How the hell have you been?
Let's do it, Frank. So good to be back, man. I'm well. Just we're both entering the fall season here of death, a little bit of decay,
Yeah.
hibernation. And yeah, the mood in the world seems to be matching that in some ways.
It does. And here's the thing that we have to start with is that In Shadow and then Kingdom, those are two things that are you're most well known by. They have amassed so much viewership. And even if people don't know who you are, they've probably seen your work. And it's crazy to me now that when we keep in touch, and I said, Lubomir, I want you to come back on the show. We got to figure out something to talk about. And that's when you said, well, The Forest King is going to be widely released now on YouTube and elsewhere. And it took me a minute to realize that this is an older piece of work that came out in between your two most well-known releases. And tell us a little bit about the timing of this, because it's been available on Amazon Prime, but now it could be seen everywhere. So this was just released on the 24th. I said, this is perfect timing. Let's talk about it, because I want more people to see this too. So go ahead and talk about the creation process for this one.
Yeah, so it was released. I finished it in 2022. I made it during the pandemic. It's part of a 6-episode series based on Russian folk tales. I'm not Russian, I'm Bulgarian, but the producers invited me to jump on this. And it was, we basically retold a story coming from Scandinavia called Erlkönig. I don't think I'm pronouncing it right. And then passed through Russia for their own version. And so it was on Prime. It still is on Amazon Prime with the series since 2023. And now it's online on YouTube, so everyone can watch it. But that film is, I call it a film. It's really an episode from the series. Was made with the passion and all the themes apparent during the COVID moment and everything that was happening. And things were so lit up, and the censorship was so big then. I was kind of excited to do something that was somewhat explicit yet veiled the themes enough that it could still pass on. Because I didn't know at that time how long the COVID situation was going to happen. People like us having been steeped in the parapolitical stuff for a while, knew that something was being pulled off. We were seeing, all the data, all the manipulation of information, of free speech. And so that was my attempt at also exploring a lot of the things I knew we were going toward. AI hadn't picked up yet, but I was already seeing the kind of mechanization of consciousness, the synthetic replacement of a lot of organic, real things in the world. And we're still anticipating that. We're entering this evolutionary point where the synthetic digital realm, the artificial intelligence, it is going to be part of our evolution. And we're going to contend with all these strange forces. And we have to find a way to realize and find out who we are, what makes us human, and to dig much deeper. And so all these themes were quite potent in writing, directing this film. And I'm so thankful to the producers. It's very rare to get money to do something that could be controversial, but really is real in this one way that doesn't bow down to, the controlled rebellious art of empire and of the central machine.
That's a great way of putting it at the end. It's a controlled rebellious art. You mentioned the whole need to be veiled, especially 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 2000 to 2020, 2021, around there, to right when you started putting this together. Over the last month or so, a lot of people who lost their shirts back in 2020 and 2021 just started getting certain YouTube accounts back, where we just got reminded of all of the stifling that was being done back then for any kind of real critique that was being laid down for a response to COVID, the lockdowns, everything that goes along with that. It was so much more. They wanted it to be they want everybody to really interpret that time as a, hey, well, listen, we have to band together and our lives are on the line here. There's a biological scourge that's coming for us all. But really, all of the things that were gained and reworked and given away had only geopolitical value, parapolitical value as well, spiritual. I mean, you think of what people have given away and never got back. There's still legions of people out there walking around with diapers on their faces for no reason whatsoever. For recommendations that have long since been admitted by the people who gave them, that were rooted in no real scientific data or anything. So let's talk about that just a little bit, because then I want to talk about the original story, the lore of the Elf King, because there's no better way of delivering these real cautionary and contemporary things that are relative to us right now than by going back to these timeless classics that, if treated with respect, can be so stunning. And you did it again. Talk about the geopolitical and parapolitical aspects of the technocratic push in particular, that theft of land and ultimately consciousness.
Man, such a huge topic, but yeah, so we've been seeing this starting in the 2010s in various ways, and the hijacking of the climate movement, or anyone who cares about nature, leaning toward carbon credits and all that stuff. We've been seeing the architecture being built and these new markets that are being constructed right now. But essentially, with COVID, we did see the actions really toward this kind of scientific, unelected rulership of management of populations, as the world and as the political sphere, as the just national identity, all of that stuff gets restructured, recreated. There's a system that's being installed in all the main countries, all the adversarial countries, and time will tell to what degree it's installed, accepted, and allowed by the people, the governments, and in what style each country wants to run this. I'm not saying it's a closed case that it will happen, but let's face the reality that there's a momentum of trillions of dollars of organized political and in transnational organizations, the UN, the WHO, all the banking and financial institutions, they're all involved beneath all the warring factions, whether it's right, left, the demographic sort of like replacement and wars and all that, all those machinations. Underneath it all is this technocratic rulership by what may be an unelected scientific managerial class. And to do so, to get people to accept this, because many of us are seeing what's happening, most people will not want to accept this. There is a subset of people who do want this, because there are always people who don't want to think or feel or act in their independent ways because it's difficult, and they do like being in systems that are readily available for them. That's fine. But many reasonable people who have dignity, pride in their own sovereignty to whatever degree, would not accept that. So right now we're seeing the conditions being laid down to force humans, despite knowing what is coming, to buckle down and submit to these things, right? So without going too far into that, I think much of your audience knows it, so I won't repeat that, but I'll just say here, I'll insert that, we speak about these issues constantly in many ways, and of course they need to be. My choice with The Forest King and some of these other stories or films and experiences that I've created is attacking the issue in a way that puts us in a situation that we can live through and perhaps be informed, inspired, emboldened, or things can be revealed through a different point of view as we move through it with other humans, characters, and the drama of it. So, any of us, like you have your show. I have my art whenever I'm able to make it. We're trying to attack the issues of what is goodness in this world. How do we embody it? How do we live it? And to be constantly on guard, unfortunately, and vigilant of other forces that don't have our good in mind. It's a complicated game. I don't necessarily think like, yeah, anyway, there are many levels, but I'll leave it at that.
Well, let's go to that that effort to go and undermine society to kind of soften people's resolve and introduce something. We always know that, you know, for example, technocrats and a lot of central planners, they like getting the votes wherever they can go and harvest them. So there's always going to be somebody forcing the hand of senile old men and women in nursing homes to make sure that they write things out, they write out their ballots correctly. But really, all of the efforts is in making sure that they are in the nursery schools, not the nursing homes. They want to make sure that they are getting to new generations of human beings that they don't have a big frame of reference as to what came before them, how life was like before everything was, connected to the Internet of Things. And I wonder what you feel about this in choosing this very, very well known and ancient myth about the Elk King, the Elf King, and bringing it now into a more digital dystopian environment. It goes to show again there too. Now it's that there's a generational gap there, and that children are much more vulnerable in ways that we even give the entire thing credit for, and that there is a need for shepherding older generations that are there to make sure that children are protected not only physically but psychologically. And I wonder what you feel about this, because the protagonist in the Forest King seems to be the only conscious male, the only conscious adult in the entire world that you're depicting. And despite his best efforts, he still can't save the child from this world that is bearing down on all of them, of social pressure inside of this matrix. Can you talk a little bit about that generational duty to one another and how it may be either strengthening right now or breaking down? How do you see it all happening?
Yeah, man, that's so important because the lineage of humanity, if we are to maintain any integrity and strength and being rooted in, I mean, just being rooted in the divine will, into natural law, all these things, they have to be passed down by humans who embody them, by strong family units. And of course, we all know strong family units are collapsing. One, because of just the structure of society and the impositions upon it, but also because a lot of parents, well, are having a difficult time, but a lot of parents don't have a guiding light or a community to remain strong and firmly rooted in what the purpose of life is, what the direction in life is, why we're here. And so I do think that, like Popov, who is the father figure in the short, yeah, he's the only man. If you watch the whole film, you see he's the only person who has a straight spine and is standing up straight. Everyone else is buckled. Their necks, as you just saw in that clip, are kind of like crouched and crooked. That's because there's no alignment to the higher forces. He's the one that is connected and brings down this ray of like ethics, morals, spiritual courage. But because of that, he's situated in poverty. He doesn't kneel for social credits. He doesn't he doesn't basically abide by the program, and he's trying to instill that to his son. And when I was writing this, when I was adapting the story, I was asked, it was a horror anthology, and I didn't want to do horror during COVID. I thought that was the last thing people needed was horror. But yet I had this opportunity to tell the story. So I leaned into it and I asked myself, what would be the horror in this story? And to me, the horror is, despite your best intentions, despite really strong, virtuous behavior, this father ultimately lost his son. And in a way, it's because of his virtuous behavior of holding his son back from not acting in the ways that others act. The son wanted it so much that he ultimately succumbed through his own temptations, through his own shame to the Forest King and became an NPC, a non-player character, a symbol of adopting the programs of the culture and just acting in ways out of scripts. And of course, I did that because the 5 to 10 years prior, politically, we were seeing the complete possession of just talking points, no reasonability, no reason, like all that stuff. So yeah, there are many layers to the film, but I'm deviating from what you asked.
No, no, no. You're right on it, and I don't care about deviations. There's so many things that we can go on for hours. So
Let's do it.
I always wonder how the hell can we pack as much as we can in for 60 minutes, because usually when we have somebody that says, this is a classic story, let's bring it, let's dust it off, and let's adapt it for a modern audience. That we've heard that many times over the last 15, 20 years, and it usually means something absolutely Marxist, horrific, just whatever. And what I think is just so great about this and smart, and I think it also honors the essence of the original myth, is that one little change, that in the original myth, there is a boy and a father, and the boy is being harassed by some kind of malevolent entity. And the father is not really cognizant of it. He can't, he thinks that, yeah, it's just the rustling of leaves. It's just the woods at night. It's, a creaking house or whatever the hell it is. It's not actually that you're being trained in on by some sort of an evil spirit or something that seeks to possess you, like what we were having today in a little bit more of a technocratic stage. And still, even that, we always wonder how much of that is spiritual behind it all. And in this, it's the boy who is aloof. It's the boy who doesn't actually really see what the danger could be, wants to be inside the matrix and earning the points and having a good time and mimicking all of the greatest influencers of his time to see how far he can climb up the ladder. But the more he climbs up the ladder, the more he loses himself. And it's the father who is desperately trying to turn things around. And I think it's an appropriate change that does not in any way, shape, or form kind of ruin the integrity of the original tale. And that's where we are, because there's this one line in there about the NPCs. They all begin as player one, but most get programmed into an NPC. And this phenomenon knows no political party. It's just a human frailty. And the more that we are exposed to all this technology, as good as it is, it's clear that we can't handle it. It's clear that we just cannot handle it by and large. There are people who have integrated it into their lives very responsibly. But I mean, the chaos all around us is because the message of chaos has been able to get to people in such a insidious and personal way. And it's all through the devices, and people are actually given social credit reasons for upping the ante and really throwing more of their soul into this game, a game that they stand no chance of gaining anything from.
Yeah, totally. Well, we do lack a foundational myth right now. We lack an organizational force that makes sense of things for us, that makes us live for something really, culturally, almost worldwide, I would say. And it's so easy within that vacuum, without a lineage, without a common purpose, something that inspires us to be in this world, to wake up day after day and become better people and more aligned and attuned with nature and with the whole form of reality, and to participate in enriching it and enriching each other in all the ways possible. Within that vacuum, we have this mechanical consciousness that preys on our mechanical beings, our mechanical minds, because without being coming and acting from our core, from the reality of our spiritual center, which is then connected to the reality of the source of all. we just are skimming the surface, and we are prey to whatever focused forces play within this playing field. And like I did follow like the original story, and Goethe was one of the writers who's I love Goethe. He was this, in a way, mystic. He wrote Faust, which was about a scientist selling his soul to the devil. And he, in his story, I felt this lineage, this golden thread, and this honor to continue telling the story, but updating that myth for our time. So looking at that story, which is about a father on horseback carrying his son who is in a delirious state, being tempted by this dark spirit of the elf king of the forest in many ways, I was like, what is that? What's the equivalent of that in our life, in our time? And the spiritual realm right now, one of these closed dark realms, not necessarily the spiritual realm, is the realm of the digital sphere, with the elementals moving through electricity, which is dying light, and these things forming, like metaverses will be forming, virtual reality, but even just the digital plex of all the social media, that in itself is this space that we occupy, that we feel into. And consciousness, our soul, can get enmeshed, can lose itself, can lose its source code by playing along the loops and reward patterns of these social media, of just like the whole digital situation. And back in the day, you would get spirited away, right? People would get taken by the elven realms. You could get possessed. Our version of it right now, one of our versions, is being possessed and taken over by this digital realm. We're seeing it with AI and with like people losing their mind. But there's a way in which Lyosha, which is the boy, the way when he becomes on his way to becoming an NPC, the algorithm is illustrated in the form of this king, the Forest King. And the Forest King is basically a dark version of his father, and he's the Dark Father. And he tempts the boy, looking, analyzing, and scanning all of his weaknesses, his desires, his insecurities. And he attacks that with the algorithm by creating experiences in which the boy, little by little, thinking it's a game and getting rewards for it, gives away his sentience and his choice. And he only chooses what the king steers him toward. And every time he does that, he becomes more and more of an NPC. More of those parts start coming online. He has to also be disarmed, right? He has a sword and a shield initially. And in order to go forward through every gate, he has to first give his shield over, then his sword, and then he's disarmed. So that's symbolic of both like the protection of discernment and everything else.
And then, of course, the knee that needs to be taken.
Yeah, and the very first thing is the contract, right? Because we now, more and more of us are looking into sovereignty law and how our word aligns with our divinity, with God's word, right? And there, by him kneeling, that's the first thing. And of course, we were moving through the BLM moment as well during COVID. And the take the knee situation was very interesting as well. So I included that as totally you submit because for various reasons. The boy, like, that was the first thing. He pledged allegiance to the dark algorithm, the dark king.
Yeah. The thing that there are two things that are always present in observing this stuff, how it plays out in the real world, which seems less and less real, is that there's this main character syndrome. I know it's not an official diagnosis, but it's become a colloquial term, and I can see where people just they feel like they are the main. There's almost like a celebrity complex that people have gotten. And it's very easy to fall into ever since you were able to share your thought in a status update for the first time on Facebook or MySpace, whatever it was. It's become a lot easier for people to get lost in the hype that they have created around themselves and how they play into the big issues of the day and what role it is of them and how it affects them personally and how they have to emote and the virtue signaling and And of course, it all ties into the little dopamine hits you get when you're inside the Matrix and you're serving the Forest King, and you're getting you're accruing all those points. That's really what it is. And you get that, essentially, that player one mentality. I'm in control of this, and I have a purpose to serve. But from the 30,000 foot observation deck, it really seems like this tossing and turning ocean of low functioning cattle program. And you can't even take that much relief in not being a part of that crowd to a certain degree. Nobody's completely immune to propaganda, but you can't even take that much relief in not being a part of the crowd that would show up to one of those No Kings protests and really has nothing to say. There's no coherent thoughts there. They've been driven to leave the house on a beautiful day in October and scream that the world is falling, even though nothing happened. And you can't take relief in that not being you, because that's not a movie. That's not a sitcom or something. These people live among us. And just like everything, the hardest part about living through 2020, 2021 is that if you can look around and you can say the screws that are being put to us right now are horseshit, and we should not be complying. But I cannot get through to the people around me. I am one versus, at least in this pharmacy, hundreds. And the only thing I'm going to do is going to give myself one less place to buy cat litter if I want to make a stand right now, because nobody around me is conscious. And that's the hardest thing, where we kind of we sane people have to tailor our behavior because of the behavior of the herd around us. And that's the one thing that just really sucks in this part of the transition we're in.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I know it's like we're managing the decline little by little, and everyone wants allies on all sides of all issues. But like, you're saying with the protests, I think everyone feels, obviously, and knows something is wrong with the world. It's difficult to make sense of it. The mainstream media will, of course, portray a certain scenario, the group of villains, and it will create, it will give what seems like solutions, which is just be mad and attack other people. So I understand why people are up in arms. They're trying to do something about things they don't understand, and most of us don't really understand. But yeah, it's difficult. I feel we're in a time of creating one's arc and really seeing how things go down. I am constantly navigating my optimism and then bouts of course, of negativity. And it's an interesting space to be in, because we're all challenged to grow right now. There's literally no one with all the answers. No one. A lot of people pretend to, because that's just how, they make ends meet. But yeah, it's an interesting challenge, right? To find your people. Yeah,
But you know what? That's the thing about the success of your work in the past. And I understand, in adapting this particular story and creating the Forest King, there was going to be an unhappy ending there. But you're a person who has been able to do a couple of different things. First of all, you have a very easily identifiable animation style, very moody. Of course, the partnerships that you have made in creating the music that brings everything, that brings the emotional journey to different climaxes and all that stuff. It's fantastic. And you also, of course, there is your way of describing what we're all experiencing as a race through very provocative visual displays. But just to have somebody who's really good at telling a story through art is not enough. Who really needs another person to describe the waters we're all feel like we're drowning in at any given moment? That's all we get. It's doom goblin stuff. Where you really come in is redemption arcs. That's what makes In Shadow and Kingdom so great to watch, because we feel that pit in our stomach when everything is at the lowest of the low point, and you feel like wow, the human, that spark is getting crushed and it's being beaten down and it's being oppressed, and then all of a sudden there's that Hulk Hogan moment where you think he's down and out, and then all of a sudden he gets that crazy look in his eye, and then humanity is back. And talk about that a little bit more, because everybody feels that damn, this is some dark shit. But what about the redemption arc in particular? And we can talk about that with Forest King. Is there going to be a redemption arc for Forest King? Are you going to add on to it at all?
Yeah, no, good questions. And of course, that's so we all know in the end we're going to win. The long-term game that's inevitable. Who are we? Well, we're the oneness that is playing. Without going into sort of like spiritual cliches here, my personal conviction and my experience is that it is at the core of us. That's why I made Kingdom. Those are personal experiences, mystical direct experiences, theosis leads to real authentic art, real authentic expression. And beneath all of the geopolitical stuff, ultimately everything comes from the realms of forms of spirit. And so it descends down into matter. Matter is ultimately the last place which actualizes these greater games. So in order for us to navigate this place, to unfold the way that we're supposed to, because we're in this moment of difficulty, of pressure, so that we can harmonize at higher levels. In order to do that, we have to break the patterns of who we have been and how we have been surfing unconsciously through our own lives and collectively participating in structures of reality that are just not beneficial to us. And not that we've been wrong, it's just that we've been immature for many years, and that's okay. It's just these human beings, these souls embodied in matter with all these physical and cosmic laws, we're being shaped over millennia to realize ourselves as something much more than what we assume ourselves to be. So there is a big remembering happening right now. And it also feels dark to the biological life form. The problem comes is when we identify solely and specifically with the biological life form and its biographical memories. That's very limited. But when there's fear to, and lack and monetary threats and threats of other humans coming in and jacking your shit and so on, like, it becomes more difficult to remember who you are. But that's exactly the game, because the game is won personally, for our families, for whoever our people are, and for the world and humanity, ultimately, when we act more and more from that place. But that takes courage, takes focus, clarity, and devotion to that process. Otherwise, we're bound to fail. So we are, as human beings, just for us, for our souls, we are bound to fail. But if we continue to remember day after day in this interesting simulation that we're in, we wake up, the sun comes up and the sun comes down, and every day we have an opportunity to do something a little better, to dial it in a little bit more. And if we devote ourselves to that process within all the chaos, I know that there's a path where nothing will touch us. Difficulties will come, but they only challenge those gifts and talents within us to unfold and to really shine and contribute to the full tapestry of what's happening right now. So that's the preface to go into the art, which is so, yeah, of course, of course I'm gonna put that into my art. Why else would I make art? To just make it dark and depressing? Then, and then the question is, because that's the journey and that's what inspires me. And it's like, let's look in the darkness and then let's see that there's something much bigger and more powerful holding it all, right? And then why is the Forest King dark? But maybe I'll just leave it there. I feel like you may have something to say.
No, listen. That's the exact experience that people, whether they can articulate it or not. I think that is the universal experience people get when they watch your first, the two big releases over the last 10 years, whatever it was. 2017 is almost 10 years ago. It's crazy, but that's the takeaway. Where at first, the dark is so uncomfortable because I don't want to live in this world. with all the puppets, the political marionettes, the infusion, the state medicine, and the everything is just dark, and you feel like you're getting bombarded with EMF, whatever the hell it is. It just doesn't seem like it's a very pro-human place. And then once that story starts turning around, by the end of the viewing, you almost want to you want to grab that sword and that shield, and you want to jump into the darkness yourself. Like, hell yeah, man! Why the hell was why was I ever afraid of you bitches? And that's a very important thing here, because it also it brings me back to a question that I love getting different guests and friends' opinions on, especially when we talk about the reworking of the hierarchy of things in the world. You call it New World Order, the technocratic state. My question is, what is behind it all, and what comes beyond that singularity, or whatever the hell they're all working toward? Is this all, do you believe, and I have a feeling I know where you're going to go with this, do you believe that these are acts, these are attempts that are being made by powerful and well-resourced people that has the trappings of a spiritual ritual? Or is it really is there a spiritual end to all this? Is there a conjuring that is being committed to right now? Are there a lot of people who don't believe in God or anything beyond this material biological experience, that are just trying to corral people with ritualistic stuff? Or is there really a Rudolf Steiner kind of soul reaping operation going on right now?
Yeah, bringing in the Steiner. Yeah, well, I do think, like, from the Steiner point of view, the Ahrimanic, right, point of Ahriman is this profoundly maleficent figure, very powerful energetically, that has to do with the rigid aspects of reality, hyper intelligent, so like deep finance, international banking, centralized banking, science, materialistic science rather, a lot of technology, and all these closed systems, very high level. And I do see right now there's an impulse, the spiritual aspect to a lot of this global seeming decline that we see, bodily mutilations, violence, just all kinds of desecration of what's good, what feels harmonious. They're rebellious acts against the creation, the harmonious creation of God, and kind of the descending planes of creation into matter. There's a rebelliousness I see in some factions of the higher managerial class, which seems to these are many assumptions and inferences, and sometimes intuitions, that they seem to want to create a closed realm which they can control, which is not controlled by the hierarchies of the divine creation. And in this closed realm, they can have their say and have sentience and consciousness within human souls be trapped under a grid of prescribed behavior and surveilled city states, in which you create organized, you just create economic, agricultural, social, and other frameworks. So the consciousness is forced in the biological life form to act in certain ways and continue to submit its choice making and its creative choice making and how to live its life, and trade that in for prescribed ways. And that is, in a way, a huge victory from their point of view over God and God's creative forces, and this huge game in which they can now manage the way that things go. And to go on a more fantastical route, I sometimes feel like I channel when I write, and I have many stories I've written that are not out there at all. But if we are to assume that reincarnation is a reality, and the karmic debt that needs to be paid off by certain souls with the debauchery and depravity that they have within their life, maybe there's a way that there's an avoidance of reincarnating. There's an avoidance of being put back into the recycling force of reincarnating into a body because of all the retribution of the karmic laws, which is impersonal anyway. And so perhaps there's a prolonging of life here on planet Earth, and that perhaps souls move. This is wild, but perhaps through ritualistic ways, there are souls that move from one body to another. We know some of these dark rituals through
Yeah.
trauma and other ways, pushing back other souls so that they don't get recycled. This is, by the way, just wild artistic speculation, but there's like we're sort of like navigating into these like strange realms, and I think there's something there, and especially if one because human souls can only come into this earth through a woman, like that's the portal. Woman is the portal, and um, this right now we're seeing technology, we're seeing artificial life forms, and I'm seeing that there may be life forms that are trying to push themselves into this earth by being and embodying mechanized forms, life forms, and coming into material existence through artificial means, through the augmentation that some people will be taking on in their bodies, through the chips, through the neural links, and so on. I feel there's going to be a cohabitation of all these forces that are descending upon us. In a way, I'm kind of seeing it in people without these augmentations already. There's an interplay. Um, and we see that a lot in, I don't know what your thoughts are on the more like medicinal path of, let's say, something like a plant medicine.
Hmm.
Plant medicine around people with integrity and deep boundaries and great containers in which there specific purposes for these ceremonies. This stuff is coming out. There's a lot of a lot of different intelligences that are really rushing in to be part of what's happening right now here.
I can imagine because and as I've always said, the whole AI thing, I use the term colloquially as well because I don't think that the actual words artificial intelligence are. It seems pretty oxymoronic to me, and I'll use it just for conversational reasons. But what we'll say about that is that I always feel like there is a sock puppet environment that is being created here. That it's more so. People wonder, well, is there going to be? What are we doing with human beings when we remove any kind of, as you say, some kind of a grounding, a commonly held belief or some kind of a societal, a foundation for our beliefs and where we believe we're going on to, and how big of a role we play in manifesting reality here and being a steward over that reality and our souls, the value of that. There seems to be such a devaluation across the board that you see even in the what is the most popular political food fight topics, abortion or euthanasia. It's like everything is about just throw out the person, balance the books.
Mhm.
It's all very, very cheap. And when you think about the declining level of declining level of care that we seem to have across the board, there's still very people who understand the real things in life. But when you look at pop culture, I often wonder what is going to come through. What's going to be how these machines are going to be used by something other than human beings, and whether or not the marriage between machine and a dumbed down man or woman is really just more of that how to sock puppet into people. And I think we're probably going to have less and less use of the machines as time goes on. Like, for example, we're just seeing right now, since we spoke with you last, the AI bonanza has been going through the roof, from image generation, video generation, music generation, book publishing, screenplays, whatever the hell it is. Storytelling is being taken over by robots right now. And it's also had deep impacts on academia at this point. And there's even been some preliminary studies done that have shown how deep the negative effects of AI usage is on IQ. That it's just plummeting because you don't learn anything, and colleges are, I mean, they're trying to compete with all of the AI tools that kids are using to do all their term papers, and all this very consequential work that they're supposed to be completing in order to get their degrees and hopefully going out there and being the professionals and the experts of tomorrow. And I just think that I think that the more we get steamrolled and sterilized, the more we are going to have to seek assistance from the computer, from a network connected to whose server, under the guise of what programming, and whose moral laws and all that other stuff. It just seems like we're offering ourselves up to something that needs us more than we need it.
Oh yeah.
That's just really, that's where I've been going lately. I, like, for example, I had somebody got in touch with me and asked me about AI and telekinesis, and whether or not AI is a way that we're going to be able to break it. Can we use AI to expand our minds, to actually start moving things around? Like, wait a second, hold on a second. Remember, it's artificially intelligent. It's not human. If we have parts, if anything, the machines need us to open up latent, inactive parts of our own brain that we were never taught how to develop over time, to be able to use us as this miraculous tool that can go and do things. If we can bend a spoon with our mind, we're the only things that can do that. Not AI, unless it's some MRI machine and it can generate electromagnetic fields or something like that. So I tend to think that maybe the machines need to merge with us to unlock some kind of really dazzling power that we've never tapped into in thousands of years, perhaps.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, the machines need our attention and our resources in the way of like funding, as in every time we buy or pay for a product, we're funding its growth.
Mm-hmm.
So there's actually an energy transfer happening and an energy siphoning. So we're actually funding through, again, our attention and our purchasing power, more of the development of these intelligences. And then we're actually transferring our sentience and our decision-making power by offloading, by subcontracting various tasks to the machines, while our sentience atrophies and we become dumber and dumber. Like, that's just inevitable. That's undeniable. Yeah, I can see it happening with me sometimes if I'm using like Google Maps too much or whatever. So that energy transfer is very interesting. So you're right. The machines do need us, and then they need our uninterrupted attention and engagement. But this whole use of AI, like, yeah, we'll go beyond, like, of course it's useful in some ways, but overall, its net contribution to us is like data processing,
Mm-hmm.
more of hustle culture, more of this buzzy mind energy that keeps us on a shallow level of existence instead of the depth of our hearts, which is where our true power comes from and our true fulfillment of, like, playing around in this world comes from anyway. So yeah, all this stuff, all the benefits right now seem to be just us catching up with AI and catching up through it with other people who are also hustling. We don't want to get left behind. There's this sense of lack. There's this sense of fear, anxiety. There's no real net positive that is actually fulfilling for the human being and this whole human experience. So I'm not seeing the net benefit. It is creating a lot more shallow interactions. All the media that's being created by AI, there's some cool stuff, but generally it's just more and more static in the field, more and more spamming of the airwaves of communication, of meaning. So within that space, if we want to move wisely and constructively, like, we really have to slow down, because slowing down actually, in a way, is speeding up. Why? Because when we slow down, we get a greater view of the field, and we have a greater view of the playing field, we can make real choices instead of rushing toward what is like expedient in the moment. And so, really, like everything we're getting right now is a reflection, a black mirror of who we are, what choices we need to make to be in integrity of the natural impulses within us that make us want to grow, expand, and evolve. Because following this mainstream artificial intelligence, in a way, the mainstream has always been artificial intelligence. It's just this like weird hive mind of the basic common denominator of empire. It's always been sort of like there's been a lot of aversion to it, at least within me. But yeah, it's to find that path, that path of action within us that really aligns us to the true, the good, and the beautiful. And anytime we feel like we're falling behind or we're lacking or we need to catch up with these things, it's like I'm not saying disengage from AI. We just have to be wise in how we maintain our authorship of our actions and our life, because the mechanization of consciousness, and in the Forest King, that's an example of it, is when we continue to outsource our decision making little by little. And I anticipated this even years ago when I started seeing that AI will be the next thing, transhumanism will be the next thing, all that stuff is like we will be tempted by, as Rudolf Steiner said, Ahriman, the Ahrimanic figure, this sort of like devilish figure. It's little steps that seem convenient, that seem sexy, that seem alluring, that seem profitable, that will get us to sink deeper and deeper into, you know what, that's not that bad. That's not that bad. And little by little, we will lose what makes us us and our authentic choices and the specific flavor and divine spark that we've been given. And that's the danger, because I see even people around me. I have friends, acquaintances who are in tech or who are hyper intelligent, who have means and agency. But within this world, I can see them being pulled into the privileges offered to those who are really engaging fully with where the momentum of this digital expansion is happening. And that momentum, I could see people in a smart city having some sort of like privileged life, living on whatever cell block, whichever tower, having X amount of credits, being allowed to have the self-driving car drive them to nature for like 2 hours a week or something. I could see those people being like, yeah, this is really cool. But at the expense of what? And having forgotten yourself fully, and living under this great giant algorithm that at that point, with whatever implanted things is giving you crypto rewards and other things. Like, yeah, and what I'm saying is this is why fiction and storytelling is so important, because we need to be seeing into these darker parts so that we can anticipate them and avoid them and do what is right through truly divine inspiration and continual work, contemplation, prayer for the visions and the approach forward. Because we're in a strange time where our mind solely cannot make sense of it. There has to be an interference by our higher self, by our connection to the Christic realm, and embodying that, and truly actually resurrecting our soul, resurrecting who we are into this new being. But that happens, with consistency and devotion. And so that's why the Forest King, why was it dark? Why was it not aspirational like the other pieces? Because In Shadow was made for the masses. I did want to jar people out of a slumber and awaken them. In a way, it was also made for a lot of us, a lot of preaching to the choir, to be like, hey, this is what we're going through, but don't worry, this hero's journey ends in this way, because the trajectory is one of full awakening, full empowerment, and that is only in our hands and no one else's, as we're seeing politically, right? Then as I made Forest King, I was like, I want to stab people who are completely not aware of these things and give them sort of like a logical conclusion of where some of these trends may be going. And while I was making Forest King, I was at the same time, I was like, man, like it is dark. It's COVID. I want to give people a spark, a true, real spark of initiative and inspiration. And I started making After Hours, started making Kingdom. And Kingdom is entirely about the journey of awakening, entirely about facing ourselves, clearing ourselves, and embodying that divine will, etc. So yeah, that's the lineage of the three.
The kingdom in particular, there's things about that I'll never forget, and that's why it's great. It's number one, the shadow work aspect of it, the inner child being left in this dark room, having to go in there and almost like on a rescue mission. The other thing is the redemption of the puppets that we have come to hate, that were actually designed. You realize that, I don't know, you look at any of the headlines today, I was reading them before, and I can't help but shake my head and just go, damn, I hate these people. But that's the whole point. They are punching bags. They are designed to get you. They are the Emperor Palpatine. Says, yes, give in to your anger. Hate us more. I mean, this is what we need to take from you. And to see that they actually are wounded as well, that there should be, that if we really want to save humanity, then everybody's got to get saved in some way. And in the comment section on your videos, there's always somebody that leaves this Carl Jung quote. And it says, our age cries out for the Redeemer personality, for the one who can emancipate himself from the grip of the collective psychosis and save at least his own soul, who lights a beacon of hope for others, proclaiming that there is at least one man who has succeeded in extricating himself from the fatal identity with the group psyche. Now, aside from our spiritual life, aside from our life, those of us who are in church and that we're praying and we've got that, we're preparing for the life after this one. But while we are here, we always talk about, yes, obviously those of us who have faith in God, we leave what is his to him and his domain. But in the meantime, we're all here, and any kind of inspiration that we can get, that's why the one-legged marathon runner who pulls himself across the finish line is just like, yeah, you get those stories that really make you like, that's why the storytelling is so huge too, because that's what gets us off of our asses, and that's what makes us doers here. While we are preparing our souls for the life beyond this one, we can't just be complacent while we're here and taking our hands off the wheel. It's always great to see those role model types that can prove that all systems can be defeated in one way or another. Skynet can be brought down somehow, and that's what we get. We get those Redeemer personalities that come to the fore in such great triumphant ways in Shadow and Kingdom, and I think that's what makes those works of art really lasting in their message.
Yeah, as you were saying that, I was thinking, like, is it not worth pursuing that vision, the Carl Jung quote, of being, just striving to be that redeemer, not having to be that redeemer, but that feels like something one would wake up for. That feels like something constructive and generative, in which we're not succumbing to the stories and downloading the stories of the culture or the news cycle or of others, but actually making choices to moving towards something that's like just so sublime and worthwhile. What else is really worthwhile than to be like the best version of one's victorious self?
Yeah.
And as you're saying, the person who stands up to Skynet, or the people who do, or the forces that do, like, that's gonna happen. That's inevitable. However far this momentum of this synthetic creep reaches, it will revert to something greater or collapse. Like, the way that I see it, the generative and degenerative forces in our world continue, and let's say evil and good. I just don't want to use those terms. I'd like to bring some new flavoring to it, but they continue, they try to outgrow each other, and they use each other as dancing partners. So as the good organizes and harmonizes, dark unconscious forces come to thwart it, and they grow an organization beyond the good, which may grow complacent and used to its baseline. And so as the darker forces start to subsume and envelop the goodness, the good has to reorganize in a higher level so then it can grow beyond and subsume the dark, right? And through those cycles, our souls realize more and more of who and what we are and the capacity of what we are. And so right now we're in this place where the stories we've believed are starting to collapse. We're confused by what is true, what is not, and who we are. The model we've lived on is that our generations is that we're these limited human beings, we're biological computers, and we are quite limited to our history. Um, and even like that, like you were saying, even that we have to wait to death for something good to ultimately happen. I think the true victory is igniting that spark and bringing the word alive right now, right here. I think that's what the Gospels also pointed to. I think that's what all prophets point to, right? They're delivering this fresh inspiration directly from the divine realms of giving this transmission of this is possible. Not only is it possible, but this is the purpose why you humans are here. Everything else that is not in line with that, all the fears, the shames, the greed, the deviations of lust, all that stuff, they're human experiences. They have some value, but mostly they're keeping us embroiled in forgetfulness. And it's funny because when quote unquote normal people not having been in touch with spiritual realities, when they hear something like what I just said, it probably feels so boring. Like, what is that, a monk like following the light? Like what that's a boring life. Like I'm not playing video games, I'm not, but no, everything in this world gets reinvigorated and reignited with color and meaning and a whole bunch of like it just that life, this reality is born afresh. Like truly, that is the kingdom. The kingdom can be. Why is our why are we bringing the kingdom here through our actions, through our spiritual opening and being actually embodying divine will? It's because matter can actually be spiritualized, and I do feel whether that's a millennia away, this process of the quantum transformation of our realm has been going on for a long time. And we are in this one process right now, this crossroads where new forces have been brought for us to contend with for reasons we don't yet understand. And those forces are, let's say AI is one of them. But it's like challenge accepted. That is the approach I believe is the most empowering. In fact, it's the most practical one. If we are to lay down, if we're to follow trends and only respond and react to what's coming our way, we are always steps behind. We're never using our creative agency. Like it is my full belief and experience that God wants to create through us. That means we have to have enough inner authority and enough humility to both open to inspiration, but then be willing to act daringly. If we're not doing that, we are being guided to whatever systems we, want to be created for us. So there's a sense of like daring, audacity, and within it all, the humility that the ego, that the human personality have to be subsumed and have to be surrendered to the higher. And that requires the silence and the devotion of this journey.
That brings up something I want to ask you. Maybe it's the last thing that we talk about because these are huge topics. But now I got to ask because you brought up the word lust in particular, and I'm a Catholic, and central to our lives in the church are the sacraments. And when I go to confession, before I go to confession, I spend a lot of time. Sometimes I'll just stay outside in my car and just be quiet with myself for about 25 minutes and really just reflect on what's been bothering me and where I feel like I've been very weak. And one of the things that I use as a template for my reflections are the seven deadly sins. And I think that this is so much more universal to people even outside of the Christian faith, because when you think about pride, greed, wrath, envy, lust, gluttony, um, you think about these patterns that we fall into, that some people would say, oh, who cares? You nap a little bit more. Oh, who cares? The lust. And that's just you. That's just you're human. Sexual desire is just some part of being human. Just you're going too hard on yourself. But we know that there are things that really just sap us of our attention, of our effectiveness, that flatten tires, and all of a sudden you're sapped of energy and creativity. You're chasing the pink elephant, whatever it is. Even venial sins. I think about the smaller ones on the totem pole before I go in sometimes to talk to a confessor and just have some time there. And I think about things like impatience and what it does to us. And it doesn't matter how, what the state of your spiritual life is. Those things, envy, lust, wrath, gluttony, they're paralyzing to human beings across the board. You can be agnostic, atheist. You can be one thing or another. I just wonder, what do you do? What are some of your personal practices in keeping all of these threats to our concentration, our creative centers, our effectiveness in the world? What are some of your things that you do to keep yourself kind of at hands, in the arm's length from what are really, really debilitating human tendencies we have? Yeah, you're a very stoic guy, so I just wonder what some of your private practices are like.
Yeah, for sure. Man, I think this is extremely important because if we don't have a practice and we don't apply ourselves and transforming ourselves, like we said earlier, day by day, then even our spirituality becomes simply thoughts and it's just mental chatter about spirituality. It's not actually spirituality. Participating in the spiritual realms and ascending in that and like bringing that into the earth, it's an order above thoughts and matter. So it's actually of a qualitatively different experience. And so in order to do that, we have to make recreate our relationship to our thoughts and feelings. And one is observation of them. So that's where meditation comes from. The Benedictine orders used to be in deep contemplation. Those were destroyed and wrecked, and we don't have that, right? You have, yes, of course, there's Eastern meditation and different practices, but I just wanted to say that in the European lineage, that has always existed. Orthodox Church, the monasteries still have that, focusing on the quiet place of the heart, the so-called secret place. These are things I put into kingdom, but it's about renegotiating our relationship to our thoughts and our feelings and the sensations in our body, and more orienting to the self with a capital S, that central part within us, which is there always observing, being aware, while the constellation of thoughts and feelings continue to create static around us. And it's what I mean by renegotiating that relationship is seeing that we are not the random things that come to our mind. It's actually a very humbling realization when we see, like, man, how many of my thoughts did I actually choose? Out of the millions of thoughts and experiences in my life, why are these things coming to me right now or repeatedly? It's a very humbling thing. That's when we really start going into the journey of like, what is a human? And are we actually like AI robots? But maybe that's another conversation. But so my practice is I do have a meditation practice every morning. I sit for half an hour. But beyond that, 10 years ago, I started the embodiment experience of using my body as a tool for meditation and presence. So it's essentially, I've done a lot of somatic therapy to work out a lot of the just uncomfortable things and feelings, emotions, shames, guilt, things that come to us and take us away into disempowering memories and disempowering actions. Like lust itself, yes, there's a sexual center. And yes, it's for procreation, and yes, there is an aspect of great pleasure and divine pleasure in it. And also, it's so strong that it hijacks us and hijacks our creative faculties, our decision making. It can impoverish us and it drains us. That's why pornography is probably in, people don't talk about it, but we know it's probably the most powerful tool for the disempowerment in our culture.
No doubt.
Like, it drains our life force, it drains our mental capacity. And so, a man's ability of sovereignty is measured by not how much he can do or conquer, but how much he can actually know himself and abstain from these like hooks that are constantly trying to dissipate our consciousness and keep them in all sorts of like repetitive loops. So observing oneself and being more and more in contact with that pure awareness that is always existent, and the deeper back we move into that experience, as we continue to disengage from following, you know, emotions and thoughts that pull us away, they can be there. We touch more and more of God. We continue to move more and more and more and surrender into the openness of actually communing with the whole field. So, sorry, I should have given you something much more practical, but I felt I
No.
needed to say what I did.
Nope.
But ultimately, yeah, I'm trying to describe here more, instead of just saying like, yeah, meditation, like just watch your thoughts, trying to outline like what this whole process is. Because if we don't do that, if we don't cultivate presence, being present here, the body is such a good anchor. Many of us, though, unfortunately, we can't connect to the body because like the body carries a lot of pain and trauma. And when we get into it, we start feeling a lot of gnarly things we can't even define. So we flee back into our thoughts and we just start going into other things like blames or fantasies or all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, I think we just need to do a combination of somatic therapies, meditative practices, and reading holy texts that continue to guide us, that,
I'm glad I asked the question because that was absolutely wonderful way to end today, and it's big. You see every aspect of those seven deadly sins in it driving pop culture. I'm sure that people would say that, oh, it was like that 50 years ago too, but yeah, I think we're a little bit more prideful about it now, though, and you can tell that it's not contributing. The more liberated people are from any kind of a structured moral life, is not really providing any good things for society at large. You can tell it, and you can tell just by our decision making or lack thereof. And I just got to thank you again for tonight. I can't wait to have you on again. I don't want to bother you too much. You're a busy guy. You got a lot going on, but we got to do this at least once or twice a year. It's a lot of fun when you come by.
Yeah, Frank, I'd love to, man. Thanks a lot for having me on. I really enjoyed this late night live conversation. Really appreciate these.
Absolutely. And just so everybody knows, it's LubomirArsov.com. But I have, and I've tagged him in the headline of this on Twitter X. You can click right through to his Twitter. Also, I tagged him in today's marketing on Instagram, so you can find him on Instagram. But in the description of the episode, I have the link to the full 19-minute long video of the Forest King. It's in there. After the end credits, we're going to be watching it together as a live viewing party on pilled.net. And that'll just be for the after hours crew. Everybody's welcome to go there. There's no paywall, nothing like that. But take that link in the description and please share it around. Go and watch In Shadow and Kingdom again. Get psyched up. Charge your sword and let's go running into the fog here. We have to make some moves.
Amazing. Yes. Yeah. Please, everyone, share, support independent art like this. And Frank, thank you for being a champion to this stuff. I really appreciate it.
Well, it's great to have you back, and I'll talk to you soon, my friend. Have a wonderful Halloween.
Thanks, brother. All the best.
Take care. All right, everybody. There goes Lubomir. It's great to have him on. 8:24 p.m. Damn. No, the impacts are being felt. Look at this one. People who say they're experiencing AI psychosis beg the Federal Trade Commission for help. The Federal Trade Commission received 200 complaints mentioning ChatGPT between November 2022 and August 2025. Several attributed delusions, paranoia, and spiritual crises to the chatbot alone. It's debasing. It's debasing, but that's the least of it. We can't, every conversation we have can't always just be, oh, the damn chatbot did this and that, and it's just screwing everything up. No, we have been primed. We have been getting primed for this over the course of years. Primed, slowly primed. Many coats of paint. Many coats. And that's what we have. So I wanted to, again, the link for this is in the Interesting Shite playlist. It's in the description of the episode, and in about a half hour, we're going to go and watch it all together. So thank you guys. That's all I had to say on that. Hey, you know what? Real quick, I want to say something else. This will be in lieu of our intermission tonight. You want to talk about the mind and all that stuff? I've got some mind-blowing trivia for you. Do you know that billions of people sip coffee every day? Well, you do know that. At least 1 billion sips a day. And that actually makes coffee the ultimate nootropic superstar of planet Earth. But, of course, it means nothing. And I don't know if you guys saw all the coffee talk that Aurora and I had on Instagram Live on Sunday morning. Just happened. She said, let's go live. And we were in the middle of playing Lord of the Rings together. So I had my mug and she had her little mug, and hers was mostly half and half with a little bit of coffee and just a dab of maple syrup. And she's warm and sweet and all that stuff. And I was Gandalf and she was Frodo, and we were just having a conversation. And she asked me, "What's in your mug?" And because she saw it was all frothy, she knew what it was. It was Keto Brainz. Okay, everybody? It's a complete nootropic stack that increases the acute brain functions. Do you have acute brain function? Do you have any brain function left? Well, it protects the brain and the mitochondria in long term, okay? And it makes your coffee delicious on top of it. So you just remember these things that are inside of it, that they were perfectly formulated, every ingredient carefully sourced by Molly and also third-party tested. You get your ketone production via the MCT. That's the coconut over there. That's how everything is delivered. You got the acetylcholine and the HGH production via the alpha GPC. You get really chilled out by the L-theanine. That gives you that calm focus, that calm. And then the lion's mane. Oh man. It's good stuff. And remember, on Halloween night, I'm going to be picking one of you guys out as a year subscription winner. Okay? So you go to ketobrainz.com. The link is in the description of this episode, or it's right on quitefrankly.tv in the merch section. Go to Keto Brainz, use promo code TREAT, and you're going to be in the running, or any other Quite Frankly code. You're going to be in the running to win like over $600 worth of this stuff. A bag is going to show up every month. And if you want to try it, comment in the comment section, say sample please, and then I'll respond with my email address, and then you just email me with your address and I'll send it out there. I'll spend the money, I don't care, because I know you're going to like it. I also got these dick lasers. Can you guys see the dick laser? Can you see the dick behind me? Hold on. I don't know. I'll show you. Talk about lust. These are so hilarious. I'm going to show you these tomorrow, though. I'm actually going to give a couple of them away. I got 5 of them over here. I don't have any of the boob lasers. They didn't send it to me. But I know it's one of those, it's the time of year for gag gifts. And we're going to have some fun, because the world is not having fun. And we got to have some laughs somehow. Anyway, thank you so much, Molly at Keto Brainz. Let's see. Jay Britt says, another home run interview, Frank. Awesome dialogue. Excited to see Forest King. Thank you. Yeah, you only have a half hour left. And then we're going to jump over to the flip side together, and we're going to watch it. Katie Sky says, great call on AI needing us more than we need it, Frank. I hadn't thought of it from that angle. Spread the word. Yes. I would say spread the word. Let everybody know. Let's all get laid tonight. 2025 says, off to another great week, Frank. Thanks for your service. That's on YouTube. See, YouTube did something where everybody is like forced to use whatever their name was that they registered with, and all the customized screen names that they had have been done away with like 2 weeks ago. I don't know what happened. I just wonder if Let's All Get Laid Tonight 2025 is actually this person's preferred public name. Then again, I've had people with much more cheeky names leave a super chat for me. In fact, what the hell happened to all of you guys and your clever names? What happened to all your clever names? What was the other one? What was the one of the most, was it Painful Rectal Itch? That would always leave a $5 super chat? When that person stopped leaving super chats, I've actually had people email me say, hey, whatever happened to Painful Rectal Itch? I said, I don't know. Hopefully it's gone away. Hopefully it's gone away. They had some sort of some kind of a cream, perhaps. In fact, hold, you want to see something? You want to see something absolutely ridiculous? I had to get this. Where are we? Where the hell are you? Wait. I saw this commercial the other day. It's another one of those injectable medicines or something for. Is this another one of those? Semaglutide. So it's another one of the. Gotta lose weight. One of the Williams sisters, the tennis sisters. Ozempic. I needed to take 30 pounds off. Like, you're a professional athlete. What the hell are you doing this? My gosh. The people who are shooting up right now to lose 30 pounds, it's just beyond me. But I want you to listen to something. I thought that this was like comedy at its finest. They are doing all of the side effects for this Wegovy thing. And then and then after all the side effects are done, you got to see the timing of the actor's line. Hold on.
Right away if you get a lump or swelling in your neck, severe stomach pain.
Here you go.
Tell your provider if you plan to have surgery or a procedure, are breastfeeding, pregnant, or plan to be. Stop taking and get medical help right away if you get a lump or swelling in your neck, severe stomach pain, or any of these allergic reactions. Serious side effects may include pancreas inflammation and gallbladder or severe stomach problems. Call your prescriber if you have any of these symptoms. Wegovy may cause low blood sugar in people with diabetes, especially if you take medicines for it. Call your prescriber if you experience vision changes, heart racing at rest, or any mental changes. Depression or thoughts of suicide may occur. Side effects of nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea can lead to dehydration, which may cause kidney problems.
Why wait?
Why wait? You just gave me all the reasons why I would wait. I couldn't believe that was the line that they dropped. That was the line that they dropped in this script after reading all of that shit. Why wait? Like it's almost like she gets the joke. Why wait? Double vision and terrible nightmares await you. I said I have got to find this commercial right. Lauren and I were on the couch watching the World Series on Saturday night or something like that, and this commercial went on, and we're just kind of sitting there, just kind of listening to the same old it's that damn big pharma commercial kind of a format, and we're getting to the side effects. And they're just going on and on. We're just sitting there going, my, oh my. And then when she said, why wait? we just started laughing. They had to know that there's comedic value to all that. Listen, she looks like she's in on the joke. Like, get it? Anyway, why wait? And I've been seeing something else there too. They stopped asking. There's less and less. You're hearing these commercials that go, "Ask your doctor today about so and so." More and more you hear, "Ask your prescriber today." I mentioned that change in verbiage on Twitter one day, and some people got back to me with more practical reasons why that it's getting harder to get in front of a doctor quicker for stuff like that. So there are nurse practitioners and other people you can call to get prescribed something or to get refills for something. And I'm like, okay, I get it. Okay, there can be other, but it's just, again, you remember the reason why I think that these commercials are so repugnant is that the doctor should be the only one who knows about what drugs are out there and how they could be prescribed and how it may apply effectively to one of their patients' health situations or another. So already the idea of a private company telling everyday citizens to go into a doctor's office and bring up a drug to the doctor and kind of press them on whether or not we can get in on that. I already find that highly inappropriate. But now it's just like, go to anybody who is legally allowed to write you a script and just, pitch them. Pitch them. Anyway, mild irritability. I wish that was it. There's so much going on. 8:36. Let's see what else is over here. Jay, thank you again, Jay Brits. Paul says, hey, Frank, great show Saturday with Sherry and Dave. The mini horror scenes were amazing. Amazing show tonight. And yeah, look into the steering stabilizer on the Bronco. It brings your wheels back to straight when you let go of the wheel. I had some conversations about that. We'll definitely talk about it again on Sunday. I like having the Bronco conversations on Sunday with everybody. I'll tell you more about that on Sunday, Paul. But thank you for that. Indeed, a little bit too much of a swiveling that's going on there. All right, what else do we have over on Rumble? Everybody, nice, quaint little group on Rumble. Quaint. Let's see. Oh yeah. So about Saturday night, though. So I don't know if you guys knew this, but I was given over here this wonderful, not doll, but figurine for stop motion. Here, take a look at this right now. Whenever we open up the lines, this was my cousin Trevor made this. Take a look at this. That's right. The phone lines are open, everybody. 914-200-0269. That's it. That's it. Give me a buzz, damn it. Jingle jangle. Look at this. I love the Foley work and everything. You can hear the rustling of all the textile, the materials. Anyway, that was something that I was surprised with on Saturday night. And then my cousin Sherry, it's her birthday today. Happy birthday, Sherry. She released this on Pip's Curiosity Shop, her official page on Instagram, with the behind the scenes of how my cousin Trevor made the Frank puppet. So take a look at this.
Hey, what were you saying?
Frank's head came in really easy because I had this tool, and I was like, how am I gonna get this head in? And then I was mushing around some clay, and then I went like this, and just like that, and I realized that luckily enough, this exact tool is just the shape of his eyes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yes, I've got those almond-shaped eyes, or sad eyes, destroyed eyes. He's got those dejected dog destroyed eyes. Very cute. Let's keep watching. What the hell happened here? Was that the end of it? That can't be the end of it.
Because his eyes, they have like a kind of a little bit of a downward.
They have a really prominent downward tilt to them. And like, I mean,
doing it quite frankly.
Striking.
Well, how does he sound? Does anyone do it? Do we have any Frank impressions here?
You don't talk like that. Talk.
Talk?
You could talk.
What?
You want to talk?
You want to talk?
He kind of has like a New Yorkish accent.
Not bad.
I mean, this is not a great idea, but like...
Yeah, the little thingies move.
Thankfully, they gave me real hands, and they didn't leave the robot hands in there. They put some hands on top of the wires that became the hand. Put some rubber on top of the wires that became the hands.
As any funny gestures things would. Very cool.
Yeah.
Like, so it kind of doesn't really matter, you know, what else I do, as long as I give him like a little bowed lip, and then the lower lip, and then you just get these real characteristic eyes in there, it becomes Frank and no time.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay, what were you saying?
That is at Pip's Curiosity Shop. We gotta go check him out. We gotta do it. So that was wonderful. Very nice. Nice part of the night, I gotta say. And you know, it's funny because right before we went live on Saturday night, Dave was on the other side of the room, and he saw one of the bobbleheads that was made of me back in like 2019 or something. He said, "Who made this?" I said, "A friend of mine. Believe a friend of mine from Pennsylvania. I forget." And I said, "You know, Dave, people don't send me stuff like that anymore. People are very thoughtful. We just got sent really beautiful, quite frankly, coasters that were just made. Wonderful stuff that's out there right now. Also, a great friend of the show. Let me see, where is she? Great friend of the show, Kelly. Where the hell is Kelly? I think this is, wait. Kelsey. Kelsey made this, for example, take a look at this. Here is Kelsey. She made this picture of a possum watching Quite Frankly, sent it to me. And it's really awesome. It's really well done. And I have this hand-drawn picture at home, and I'm like, how do we reproduce this? Maybe this is the kind of stuff that we put into like some kind of a coffee table thing. We were always thinking about ideas of what we can do to get into more publishing and stuff. Incredible cartoons, Quite Frankly cartoons. But she also did another one that Jay's going to love, and I don't have the physical with me just yet. Take a look at this. Jay's medicine cabinet. Jay's medicine cabinet, it is essentially just a meat locker. Turkey legs and prime ribs, and it looks like some organs there or something like that. It's kind of like bloody door and all that stuff. Quite frankly, like, we have amazing people in the audience like this, and I definitely want these cartoons in the magazine when we kick that off as a quarterly in spring and things like that. But I really just want to encourage you guys and gals to get in on the fun. I mean, we can do some incredible things together. If I can just get you guys, like, you think about what Moriarty and all that people have sent in, and there's just so many great creative minds out there. Get involved, because those are the little viral moments that make people say, wow, I want to hang out with this show. That's more than just a podcast. That's more than just a live stream. There's just so much more there. And also, for those of you out there, remember, if there are moments during the show that just like any screenshot the show on your phone, anytime that you laugh, anytime that you say, fuck yeah, Frank, that's a great point, anything, screenshot the show so we can get a time stamp of when something happened and send it to me. I'll pass it along to some video editor. We have a couple of video editors working with us right now. I'm investing so much into it because it's just, we're just hacking our way through the brush right now. Send it in. Send it in. You guys know the show better than anybody. You know the show better than me. Some of you get in touch with me in email, or if you see me in public at one event or another that have happened over the years, you quote me in saying things that I must have blacked out when I said them. But you'll remember them forever for some reason. So get in touch with the show and just make that a daily thing. Hey, man, this was hilarious at this timestamp. You got to clip it. Some of those clips might go viral, bring in 10,000 new viewers who have never seen the show before. That's how easy it can be. And I know that getting everybody involved would just make it so much sweeter if it was a group effort. So by all means, please get involved. That's great. Oh, here's another thing. Speaking of Jay, the month subscription to Jay's health reclamation project, that person did not claim their month. So I told you I have all the names. Here's 25 names minus the person who already won. LDW Mary Jane, Sarah Blazek, EMJF, Valsky, Grandma Grateful, J Semo, J Winard, Stickman, Stowstube, Eli P, Road Trip, Meggles, Dan Schumann, Jay Britz. Let's see. Oh, Road Trip is in there twice, but it doesn't count duplicates anyway, but I'll take that out there. Callie Sunshine, Kathy Puravita, Walsey V, Uncensored Abe, Safety Net, Molly Arty, Rook Castle, Moira NYC, Big Chief Patriot, Miss Day Dawn, and Steve Ellis. Let's see who is winning it. These are all the names from last week. And the winner is Safety Net 820. I believe that's Lynn. She hangs out on Pilled. Lynn, you have 36 hours to get in touch with me, Frank at quitefrankly.tv. If not, then I will draw another name. And once I get your information, I'll pass it off to Jay, and you will have a month on healthreclamationproject.com, which I hear that people are enjoying greatly. My mother-in-law is already on there, and she does not miss any of Jay's live streams. And I have to imagine that is going to be something that a lot of people enjoy over the years to come. So there you have it. 8:46. We'll open up the lines, shall we? Let's do it. Business 914-200-0269. Get off your fat ass. Show me that ass. 914-200-0269. Call me right now because I'm lonely. And there's only 10 minutes left before we go and watch The Forest King together. Give me a buzz. 914-200-0269. What the hell is going on with you tonight? I'd like to talk a little bit about all of the back and forth. There's a couple of questions from people in the audience about, hey, that has been sent in to me through email, about what I think about the upcoming halting of food stamps and EBT and all that stuff coming up on November 1st and whether or not it's going to happen. I got a lot of things to say, and I don't know if I should just cram it into the last 10 minutes. Maybe I should just leave it for tomorrow. Tomorrow, who do we have? Oh, we have Christopher Knowles coming on tomorrow, which is going to be great. So maybe I'll leave it for tomorrow because it's definitely a topic we got to talk about. Hey, is this Kay?
Yeah.
Hello,
How'd
Kay.
you know?
Oh, I'm just psychic tonight. What's going on, Kay?
Oh, well, I just heard you reprimanding everybody to call. So I thought, I better call. So I just wanted to say how much I enjoyed that interview. I kind of, I tuned in a little bit late, so I didn't get the introduction part, and I didn't know who he was. And I just listened to that interview and the conversation you guys were having, and I was like, wow, I'm experiencing the same thing where, the thing that I'm addicted to is playing solitaire on my phone. It's crazy. Oh. And I think the AI is controlling me. I got to stop doing that.
Through the solitaire? Well,
it just sucks up all my creative time and headspace. And anyway, it was very inspiring. It's really inspired me to get off the dime and do something with that time that's more creative. So anyway, I just wanted to say that, he mentioned, you asked him that question about what kind of a practice that he has. And he mentioned that he does do the meditation in the morning. And I wanted to encourage you, Frank, because I've heard you say that you have a hard time in meditation, or just like you get kind of antsy or whatever. I forget exactly what it was, but I kind of resonated with you there. But you know what? I started that practice 2 years ago, and it was so beneficial to me, and I got to get back into it. Just where you sit in silence for at least 20 minutes. He said he does it for 30 minutes in the morning, but I used to do it regularly, 20 minutes. And the whole practice that I got into was through a contemplative outreach that was sponsored by a Benedictine monk, I think it was, that he started it years ago. He's passed now, but anyway, learning how to just silence yourself and just be with God, and just don't, and let all your thoughts, every time a thought comes to you, just let it go and say, Holy Spirit, be with me, just like be really open to God's Spirit, and try to not let all those thoughts that come at you, the way they described it was, the thoughts are like the little boats on the surface, and you're down below the surface, and you're in a deeper place, but the thoughts are just boats, and you just let them pass. You don't react to them. Anyway, it's a really good practice to get into. And I loved what you said about what you do before you go to confession. You sit in your car and just like reflect. That is so healthy. Who does that? I mean, we need to do that more,
Yeah.
Anyway.
The reflection, and thank you, Kay, because there's a couple of ththings I want to put out there. And yeah, it's something I've had an issue with, and I've been working on it, and it's been, I'll tell you where it really started coming to a head with me. And thank you, Kay. Even if that's the only call I get tonight, that was a great call. Breath work is an issue. It's always been an issue for me, and it continues to be, but I'm miles from where I started, and even though I'll keep working. I never shy from the work, but anyway, it's more so just about being quiet for 30 minutes sometimes. If you can get yourself alone, and I've done this a couple times over the last few days, over the last week, where I'm able to just sit someplace and just chill out. Or even if we're on a long drive and everybody in the car seems to be taking a nap, there's been a couple of long drives over the last few weeks that I've been able to there's been no music on, nothing. And it's just, I was told this a long time ago, and then I saw another video that popped up on it not too long ago too. Just more of that kind of the practices of intention, vibration, whatever you're going to, how do you attract things, and how do you fine tune yourself to be able to connect to just like things that are just floating around us in the ether. There's information all around us. There's information all around us that we can't even see. So much of it comes in through, spirit and psychic connections and all that stuff. We are just senders and receivers of information that, like Lubomir says, so many of the thoughts that we get, so many of the statements that we hear in our heads, some of the, encouragement, discouragement, whatever it is, you just think about all the conversations we had with Jerry Marzinski so far. He seems to think that all those thoughts are not ours, but they're coming from somewhere. And of course, we are very, very powerful broadcast units, biological broadcast units. And we have the power to tune that broadcast, for those broadcast frequencies. We can squelch out things that we don't want. We can hone in on the things that we do. And if you can find a way, it starts kicking in around 20 minutes. If you can find a way to just be quiet for about 20 minutes and not have too many distractions around you, no music, no nothing, all of a sudden you start getting answers. You start getting ideas, inspiring ideas. For me, it comes in the form of, that's a great bit for the show. Oh, I got to contact this person. Oh, that's something else. You can be so frustrated by things, not know what way is up or whatever. And sometime around 20 to 25 minutes, if you're just chill, I'm telling you, you start getting answers and ideas. And sometimes you may not even know what the hell the idea means. until you have to go and, research it a little bit and see where it leads you in the middle of, bringing it to fruition. It's spooky stuff, but then again, it's a spooky cosmos. A lot of things we don't understand that far higher authorities than us put together for our amazement, and it's a beautiful thing. I got to get a little bit more in that zone, but once you get a little bit of success with it and you feel the effects, it's wonderful. And then once you get into that zone, it's also the perfect time to pray. What I mean, it's like I'll just speak out loud. If I'm having a hard time, I'll speak out loud. And I know somebody hears me out there. I know God hears me out there. But as far as your ability to get something back, it's very hard unless you're able to calm down and get yourself into a zone where you can fine tune that radio again. Very hard to hear anything come back when you're all out of sorts. So that is a perfect zone to actually start praying in once you are leveled and you almost feel that sublime state. Okay, let's see. Flim Flam Man 1975. Wow, Flim Flam. That's such a wonderful, wonderful gift to the show at a time when we really need it. Hey everyone, happy Monday. Happy Monday to you. Feel great talking with you all tonight. Thank you so much for that. Flim Flam Man 1974. Okay. And over on Quite Frankly.tv, let's get a couple of the gold pillars in real quick before we start wrapping up. Uncensored Abe says, great discussion, Frank. Thank you, Abe. No Stud All Muffin says, happy Monday, Frank. Thanks for another great show. And I want to slap your butt cheeks. Go ahead. Nothing says I want you and you are worth it more than a butt slap. So there you have it. Okay. Yeah, we have a couple other calls coming in right now, but it's like, it's 8:57 and we have to go on the other side of this thing. So I am going to cut it off right here. We have another great broadcast waiting for you tomorrow. I should be able to get some more headlines in there as well. Christopher Knowles, we're going to be talking about the paranormal a little bit more, but it'll always be reflective of what's going on around us, just like tonight was too. And I'm looking forward to that. 7 o'clock, all the same places. But in the meantime, join us on pilled.net, quitefrankly.tv. I'm going to be putting the link into the chat room. Come and watch the live viewing party of The Forest King. 18 minutes long. We get to do it together, and we might have a couple of minutes to share some thoughts afterwards. So with that, thank you. And please, not only go and patronize our wonderful friends at Keto Brainz and let us know if you want some samples. KetoBrainz.com, promo code TREAT. So you're not only getting the greatest nootropic creamer on the planet, but you're also putting yourself in a position where you might be able to win a year's worth of it. And become a sponsor of the show. We have so many things that are opening up right now. There are openings in postcard tiers on Patreon and Subscribestar. There are tiers to become a pen pal of mine on Patreon and Subscribestar. You want to, it's wonderful writing letters to each other over the course of the holidays and going into the new year. Become a pen pal. Get into the postcard. I'll send you everybody who signs up for a sponsorship anywhere is getting a handwritten note and a Polaroid and God knows what else, a postcard. I want to give postcards to everybody over the next 2 months because I love the holiday postcards. But we need your support, and for those of you who can't support right now, then watch the rerun on YouTube and don't skip the ads. Maybe that'll add up to $5 at the end of the month. You never know. And I love you too. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
All right, everybody, go and check it out in the chat room. I'm going to be sharing the Pilled link, and I want you all to join us for a little bit. It's a live watch party on pilled.net, quitefrankly.tv. Thank you all so much. See you soon. All right, that's it. Thanks, everybody.